Okay, Alberto, I was looking over your modified problem statement here, and I think you're getting closer. I think we can focus on a problem related to vocabulary and perhaps some sort of communicative activity, whether it's spoken or written. I would suggest, though, that you refrain from focusing on vocabulary as far as it increasing. You mentioned here specifically that the problem with your students is that the vocabulary does not increase. And this, to me, leads me to believe that you want to focus on a quantitative research where you have a pre and post test and you actually measure how much vocabulary that they learn. So instead, I would keep it a little bit more general in the problem statement, simply say that the vocabulary is a problem with your students with regard to communication, whether you want to focus on speaking or writing. And you need to decide on which one of those productive skills that you want to focus on. So I would modify this. Remember that you want to keep it as one sentence. This is a problem statement, so try to modify this and bring it together a little bit more concisely into a single sentence. Now your argument, instead of focusing on my students, your students, try to focus more on the key terms that are related to the solution that you want to try to implement. Remember that this action research project is you trying to implement something new, whether it's a strategy, a technique of some kind, maybe it's new material or technology that you want to try that you haven't tried before. Try to ask yourself, what do you want to do differently, or something new that you want to try to do that will help address this problem. Maybe something or solution that will improve or not necessarily solve the problem, but at least allow you to better understand the problem. That is really the overall goal of this project, of this action research project, is that you improve as a teacher, and in doing so, you address some sort of problem that you face in your class. So think of something new that you can implement. Once you have that idea, that new strategy, or that new technique or material that you want to try to do or implement, then build the argument around that concept, about that new technique or whatever that you want to try to implement. And so I think we need to revisit again the argument and be more specific. Once you have this outlined here in your argument, now remember the argument is basically the theoretical outline to your context of the problem. The context of the problem section is actually the literature review. This is the theoretical framework, and that's this section here. It's short, it's very concise. 800 words is not a lot, but it needs to be organized in a way that basically informs the reader what the experts say about this new technique or strategy or material, etc., that you want to try to implement. And it's all within the context of a problem. So in the introduction paragraph is where you're going to really describe the problem specifically. And then after that, it's more about discussing the solution, that new technique, for example, that you want to try to implement, but in terms of the problem. So once you have revisited this section, the argument section, this outline, you'll need to revisit your research question or questions and be a little bit more specific. You want to try to then incorporate some of these key items or key terms in your argument, again, that relate to the problem. So here I think we can be more specific, and whatever you do decide, let's say you decide on, let's say, some sort of material, maybe authentic material, then that would be you would need to include that in your research question or questions. So anywhere between 1 to 3 research questions will be fine for the purposes of our research. Go ahead and revisit the problem, the argument, and the research questions here, and feel free to either email me if you want me to look at it again with your changes, or if you want to discuss this further and feel that you need further explanation, obviously come by my office and we can talk about it. But I think you're on the right track. Again, your problem statement looks fine. Just some modification here, taking out, mentioning the increase in vocabulary. You do need to revisit your argument, again thinking of those key terms related to that new technique or material that you want to try to implement, and then revisit your research questions. So take another look at this and feel free to contact me if you have any additional questions. I'll see you in class, and I'll talk to you later.